Hey, it's Mr. Kabbalah. In these geometry recap videos, I'm trying to focus just on the most important topics in each lesson. I hope they're a help. Let me know if you have any questions.
I wanted to go through how to use this flowchart for trigonometry and Pythagorean theorem. So I colored it in like this, where I used yellow for anything that was Pythagorean theorem. I used pink for anything that was inverse trigonometry, and red for anything that was the trigonometric ratios. I made the pink and the red kind of the same color because all of that is trigonometry. So here's how you go about using this flowchart. And I like the color coding, but that's just me. Right, so let's start with this one. All right, what do we know other than it's a right triangle? So we have 11 and 18 as two lengths of sides, so we know length of two sides. What do we want to do? This x is asking us to find a third side, so we're going to go this way. Do you know the length of the hypotenuse? So look across from the 90-degree angle. Yes. So we're going to square the sides. 18 squared, 11 squared, and sorry, just looking at a few notes. um, then it says subtract. Subtract. Take this, and 18 squared minus 11 squared is 203. Take the square root, and the square root of 203 is about 14.2. Right, so that's the first pathway. Here's the next pathway. So again, right triangle, we know the length of two sides, length of two sides. What do we want to do? This x is asking us to find a third side. Do we know the hypotenuse? Nope. So we're going to square the sides, add, right? 18 squared plus 11 squared is 445. And then take the square root. And the square root of 445 is about 21.1. Oh, not degrees. Sorry, length of side. So centimeters, whatever. Okay, this one, we have one side, two sides, so we have the length of two sides. What do you want to do? This x is asking us to find this angle. So we want to find a measure of an angle. Do you know the length of the hypotenuse? Yes. Do you know opposite or adjacent? So going across from the angle we want to find, that would be opposite. So we know opposite. So we're going to do angle. So angle x is equal to the inverse sine of the opposite side over hypotenuse. That's done on your calculator. Second sine, 11 over 18, and the angle would be about 37.7, this time degrees. Okay, for this one, we're given one side, two sides. All right, so the length of two sides. What do we want to find, or what do you want to do? This x is asking for this angle. Find an angle. Do you know the length of the hypotenuse? Yes. Do you know opposite or adjacent? So if you go across from the angle we want to find, that would be opposite. Nothing's there, so we're given adjacent. So way over here, adjacent means we're going to do angle x is inverse cosine of adjacent 11 over hypotenuse 18. And then if you do that second cos on your calculator, you get 52.3 rounded to the nearest tenth. All right, we have two sides. We want to find x, this angle. Do we know the length of the hypotenuse? No. So we're going to do the angle is inverse tangent of opposite. Now the opposite side is across from the angle we want to find. Adjacent actually helps make that angle. And you do that on your calculator. Second tan, 18 over 11, about 58.6 degrees. Tangent is one trig ratio that can have a ratio greater than 1. That's because in sine and cosine, the denominator is the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always the longest side. So in those ratios, the denominator will always be greater than the numerator. In tangent, since it's opposite and adjacent, opposite can be larger than the adjacent side, so that ratio can be more than 1. Moving on. All right, this one we are given the length of one side, okay, and we're given one angle. So now we're going this way, okay, length of one, and is the hypotenuse involved? So notice this doesn't say, do we know the length? It just says, is it involved? So we go across from the 90-degree angle, and it's labeled X, which kind of tips us off that we're going to want to find that side. So is it involved? Yes. Do we know opposite or adjacent? Now, they're talking about the angle that we're given. So across from that angle would be opposite. So we're given the opposite side is 18. So what we're going to do is we're going to do sine of 38 is opposite over hypotenuse. And I should put an equal sign here. Sorry, sine 38 equals. Now what we're going to do is make this look like a proportion. We're going to have sine 38 over 1 is equal to 18 over x. Cross multiply, that's what it says to do right here. So we're going to do 18 times 1, that's 18. X times sine 38. Now sine of 38 is a decimal, so it's just a number that we can actually divide by. And so if we want to get the answer on our calculator, we would do 18 divided by sine 38. And we get roughly 29.2. And this isn't degrees because we're finding the length of a side. All right, for this one, we know the length of one side is 18. We know that one angle is 38, so we have the length of one side and one angle. There's the hypotenuse involved, so it's labeled X, meaning we need to find it, so yes. Opposite or adjacent, so go across from the angle we're given, nothing's there, or it's, anyway, this 18 is adjacent then. So we have adjacent, somehow that didn't get colored in. So we're going to do cosine of 38 is equal to the adjacent 18 over x. We're going to make this look like a proportion, put that over 1, and cross multiply. 18 times 1 is 18. X times cosine 38, just going to write that, and then divide by cosine 38. All right, do that on your calculator. 18 divided by cosine 38. And we get 22.8 rounded to the nearest tenth. And again, not degrees, this would be the length of the side, in this case the hypotenuse. And we're given a side and an angle. Is the hypotenuse involved? No. So we're going to set up tan 38 is equal to, now the opposite side is across from the 38-degree angle, that's x, over adjacent 18. Make this look like a proportion, put it over 1. We're going to do x times 1, which is x, and then 18 times tangent 38. Now notice in this one, we're just going to multiply. You don't always divide, you don't always multiply. It depends on how the cross multiplication comes out. In this case, just 18 times tan 38, about 14.1. So we want that way. and then that's kind of confusing. That's an arrow from that to that. Okay, maybe you'll find this useful. If not, then you don't have to use it. It's just a good little tool if you so choose. Bye now.